there's 24,000 owner-operators. One guy, one truck, one ABN, right? And out of the 50,000 odd trucking companies, like 98% of them have less than 10 trucks.
That's right.
So we've got a lot of small trucking companies that, first of all, don't have the means to invest in technology.
Yes.
Even if they did, they don't have the time because they still drive themselves. And you have this weird thing where they're the ones that create the most value, but they're the ones that suffer the most in the market.
That's right.
And so we pay in 2 days, for example, right? We do cash advance during peak because if you don't have any fuel in your truck, what are you going to do? You're not going to move the freight, though you're getting paid 60 days after.
Yes.
So you incur a lot of the cost ahead of actually fulfilling the freight, and then you only get paid 60 days. So the working capital, super hard.
Right.
And if you have one unforeseen issue with a truck, maintenance for a month, maintenance for whatever happened, right? Or you had an accident,
That's right.
the entire company can go burst.
Not only go bust, I think the most also more human way to think about it is that it's their livelihood.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's a destruction of that human being. And a lot of the politicians don't get that. You know, if you've got 24,000 owner truck drivers who doesn't know where the next load's money going to come from, that's a lot of pressure. They probably, have family, have kids and so forth. And that's where we don't tap into it. And I think, like you said, when offload can provide that, let's call it a safety net, or so to speak, that has to be attractive.
It has to, and I mean, I like the fact that you brought back the fact that we're talking about people that have families, right? We're not just talking about numbers on an Excel spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about an industry that is core. Right? There's a reason why we see this little yellow triangle at the end of each truck. Without trucks, Australia would stop, right?
That's right.
It's core, but it's not front of mind for most consumers.
Yes.
And when consumers are super happy to have all of their Christmas gifts and everything on the shelves around Christmas or around Boxing Day, they forget that there's been someone that hasn't been with a family working on to deliver that for Boxing Day, right? And they all forget because it's normal to have everything on the shelf and we want things immediately. But that's a hard-working industry behind the scene doing it.
Absolutely.
That truck has been driving 13 hours, right, overnight. Like that half an hour, we've got to understand some things here and adjust a little bit the expectation and have a bit more compassion towards those that actually do the work.
I keep on finding myself needing to explain what you just said to our customers, as well as to overseas agents, because what we have here in Australia is very unique because we have the landmass almost the size of USA. 26 million people, the infrastructure is non-existent. Competition almost non-existent in some of the areas. These drivers, they've got a lot of land to cover. Last year I did a bit of a sort of a half Australia tour. I drove 16,000 kilometers in three weeks.
Pretty good.
And along the way, I stopped at the truck stops and, next to all the trucks, and I was, in the truck stops talking to these drivers, they were coming out in their shorts and singlets and thongs, And I'm telling my journey, they go, yeah, we do that every week. And it's hard. It's really hard, and it's lonely, hard yakka. And the thing is, I was driving a ute. I had my dog, sun was shining, right? But these guys were carrying road trains, the 340s going at the back, road trains, and they do that every week. And we're sort of branching off topic a bit because this is very relevant. And then you look at some of the drivers, they're not the healthiest bunch, right?
Yeah.
And I go, well, why? And then I look at them, between stops, they don't have many options. And they go to these service stations, and the food that's being served there is just fried, and more fried. And their standard lunch would be a fried Chico roll or spring roll or a couple of dim sums. Something has to be done.
And we're not taking good care of them. But there's no industry standard, right? So it's down to every kind of trucking company to do the right thing with the drivers.
That's right.
And most of them try to, especially those that have, the bigger trucking companies tend to have employees as drivers, and we are seeing a pattern here of not the best behaviors being promoted, but in the long tail, the intentions are the purest, but the means are not there. And of course, like when a driver is making a couple $100 a day, driving 13 hours, right? He will not pay for a hotel. He will sleep in the back of the truck.
That's right.
So it's a tough life. And one of our biggest challenge, and it's for everyone to have in mind, right, is that we don't have any renewal of drivers. The average age of a driver is increasing by 7 months every year, which means that there's no new drivers coming in.
That's right.
We are getting into a driver shortage. Immigration is not compensating for it. And even in this market where demand is a lot less than during COVID, we are still struggling to find drivers. There's still a bunch of trucking companies that have trailers or prime movers that are not moving because of driver shortage.
That's right. That's
and
right.
so we got to find a way to make that industry more attractive. And so we need to tackle the health point you've made,
Yep.
the accommodation point, or
Yep.
any other things that makes this industry hard to enter. And the license, for example, getting your license and having to wait for you to already be in the workforce in order to be able to drive a prime mover.
That's right.
How is that helping? Make it something you can have straight on, because then you can have someone enter that as a career move. Because we have driver shortage, a lot of
Yes.
companies will go bust.
Yes.
And we're going to face a big problem if we don't all
That's
play
right.
an active role.